How is it going, everybody? You're watching Then About Tech, and Apple has just released the first beta of iOS 18.3, and honestly, it's not the update that we wanted. But anyways, we're gonna talk about everything that's new in iOS 18.3, including, of course, the new features, bug fixes, security updates, and we're gonna also talk about performance, battery, and a little bit about Apple Intelligence. Let's get started. So, I don't know if you know this, but all the 0.3 iOS software updates are just a little bit disappointing. They're just small and they don't contain pretty much any new features and new functionality. Even though it's a one-digit software update like iOS 18.1, 18.2, 18.3 should be a big software update, right? But historically, 0.3 software updates are just small, and it actually has to do with your calendar. It has to do with the fact that they're always launched very close to the holidays, and this has always happened in iOS 17, 16, 15, and so on. And because of this, because of the date, Apple never really risks sending a big software update with a ton of new features, because if something goes wrong, if something goes south, they just don't have enough personnel, they don't have enough workers to actually deal with the situation. So even though it's a big software update, it's generally like a 0.2 digit software update. But anyways, we have new stuff here. I just wanted to bring this little fun fact right here in the beginning of the video. And the first thing I want to talk about actually has to do with robot vacuum cleaners. It's something completely random, right? But iOS 18.3 will most likely finally bring support, of course, with the Home app to robot vacuum cleaners, and of course it will also be integrated with Siri. Apple had already announced this type of integration back in WWDC, but it's finally here in 18.3. Well, it's not yet here, but we are in the first beta, but we expect to see robot vacuum cleaner support in the final version of iOS 18.3 in just a few weeks. So the idea is that you would be able to manage your robot vacuum cleaner right here from your Home app, just like your smart TV, your smart lights, your smart lock, like anything you already used to. And of course, use Siri to say something like, go mop the house, or go vacuum the house, or of course, create routines and everything like that. If we open up our settings, and then go ahead and tap on accessibility and then scroll down just a bit, we finally have a new icon right here for the camera control. Before, this icon used to be different from the others. It would look weird. It looked like Apple forgot to actually implement this new icon right here in iOS, but now they have, as you can see, it looks pretty and it looks just like all the other options. And speaking about new icons, if you pull down the control center and you tap and hold, right, to add a control, and if you go for Siri, just like that, we have a new icon right here for type to Siri. Before in iOS 18.2, it used to be a little keyboard, a ugly icon, and now it's this Siri icon, which looks way better. Now let's talk about bug fixes. So if we open up this page from Apple Developer, I'm gonna have this page right here in the description. We can go ahead and see iOS and iPadOS 18.3 beta, of course, release notes. So we have pretty much two bug fixes, and both of them include Apple Intelligence. So a resolved issue regarding Genmoji and another one with writing tools. So sometimes Genmoji might not work depending on the character you're using, and the writing tools has to do with its implementation in third-party apps. So this is more technical, but anyways, those are the only two issues apparently Apple fixed in iOS 18.3. Now, remember in the beginning of the video where I said iOS 18.3 is not the update that we want? And it's simply because a lot of the new features we were expecting just aren't here yet. One of them being this one, the fact that while the iPhone is locked and you go ahead and plug it into the charger, we would be able to see the remaining time until full. So we would get this information either right here at the bottom or at the top or whatever. So we've had some leaks that this feature was coming. Some people were calling it battery intelligence, but it's just not here, at least in this very first beta version. So it's kind of annoying. Another thing that a lot of people are expecting has to do right here with your settings and then Apple Intelligence and Siri. First, a lot of people are expecting that Apple Intelligence would finally be released as a final version because, as you can see, we're still in beta. Apple Intelligence is still a beta feature even in iOS 18.3. And on top of that, the fact that Apple Intelligence is still limited to American English. So many people were expecting Apple Intelligence to be released in many other countries and many other languages, but again, not here, not in iOS 18.3, but this will happen in 18.4, which we expect the release date in April. So iOS 18.4 probably will be a very big software update, just like 18.2. And one of the features we are really expecting is, of course, this implementation here in Apple Intelligence, making it available everywhere, at least in a lot of countries, in a lot of regions, in a lot of languages. But again, not here in 18.3. But at least we've got some great news regarding performance. iOS 18.3, even though it's on its first beta, it's very responsive. It's really fluid. Experience is great. I'm loving it. It's super fast. Of course, sometimes we have some glitches here and there. It happens. But as a general, I feel like it's even better than iOS 18.2, which is in a final official version. So iOS 18.3 is really smooth. I really like it. And same goes for the battery. Of course, I can't really tell a lot of the battery because we've just updated. It's just a few hours after release date. But of course, if we go ahead and open up battery here and take a look at the graph and go for last 10 days, we can at least analyze how's battery life in the previous version in iOS 18.2 and compare it a little bit. So if we take a look here, for example, a normal day, a typical day with 100% of battery usage, I'm getting almost 10 hours of screen active time. This is amazing. As a reference, of course, I'm using an iPhone 16 Pro Max. As you take a look right here, for example, in today, which I've used maybe 75% or something, like 6.5 hours. Great battery life as well. And this is all in iOS 18.3, completely in iOS 18.3. So we're getting same performance, maybe a little bit better, maybe around this. And keep in mind, I've just installed it, so those very first days after updating are always a little bit worse. So battery is very solid, not only in iOS 18.2, but still here in iOS 18.3. I have nothing to complain. And so that's literally it. That's what I wanted to tell you. Everything you have to know about iOS 18.3. Even though it's supposed to be a big software update, it's really not, but at least it paves the way to iOS 18.4, which will definitely be a huge software update with a lot to expect. And so that's literally it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video as usual, guys. Bye bye.